What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Chelsea fans, football fans, I hope you're all doing well. We have an international break on our hands, and yet again, we're sat here wondering why we have to keep putting up with these, because I'll tell you what, I have had enough, man. International breaks, they are the most boring thing. You're in an international break when you start seeing people chatting about old players, nostalgia, ranking players. I spent the morning chatting about Cole Palmer, Saka, Foden. I'm seeing nostalgia trips on Twitter. Oh, come on, man. International breaks. I don't need that. Chat. I hope you're all doing well. Let me know your thoughts on the international break. Does anyone really like the international break? Is it just us England fans? Are we just so fed up with international football that we're the ones that are not fans of it anymore? Or are other countries the same? Do other countries hate their international breaks as well? I'd love to know that. But we will get into it because I think we need to have a little chat on Chelsea, Enzo Fernandez. I want to have a chat about Ten Hag. I want to just chat all things football, maximum potential. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. So hopefully we can bring a little bit of joy to each other and have a chat about all things football. Let's start off with the most recent game, because I don't think I've spoke to anyone. Obviously, I was at the game against Forest, hence no live stream, hence no watch along. I'm trying to figure out a way to do something if I go to games, because going to games makes it difficult to make content, sort of. So, what do we all think of that game against Forest? I felt like that was exactly how I pictured the game to go, by the way. Exactly how I pictured the game to go. I thought it was going to be incredibly tough to break Forest down. I thought they were going to time waste and be frustrating. And they were all of those things, man. All of those things. I mean, they got red cards. They time wasted. Their keeper had a weldy. They're a tough side to play against. Maximum potential, you've hit the nail on the head as well. They are a tough side to play against. But what I won't have is the slander I'm hearing towards players like Cole Palmer, people suggesting he had a bad game just because he didn't score. Come on. Cole Palmer did everything but score in that game, and it wasn't for the want of trying or lack of quality. That Celts in goal had an absolute weldy. And I think some of Cole Palmer's passes to try and unlock Nottingham Forest showed the quality, some of the skills to potentially work his chances were unbelievable. They're of a level above what I'm seeing a lot of other players doing in the Premier League. They're sort of moments that you see legends, like legends of the game. That's what they were renowned for, skills like that. Yeah, Enzo Maresca's. Look, we can talk about Maresca. Look, I don't think Maresca wasted an opportunity to kill the game. Yeah, look, Forest nullified Jackson. They did indeed. I said that at half time with the people I was sat with. I basically just said Jackson's having a quiet one, and it's in games like that. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. This is what I was saying. We need a box presence striker. This is what I was saying, right? Is that in a game like that, a player that can take the game to his defense by holding them up, pinning them, winning the ball, taking a touch, bringing others into play on the edge of the box is exactly what Chelsea needed. Jackson can do all of that in transition. I think he needs to improve. And I actually think Maresca will see that and try and improve Jackson's side of his game when we're playing in those situations. I don't think Nkunku's that type of player. I'm talking like a Lukaku, because he's unreal at that, whether we hate him or not. A Drogba of times gone by, Diego Costa, even a Giroud. You know, players who are not like even a Chris Wood. Yeah, I don't. Theo, there was. I'm pretty sure someone tried hacking into the Discord. Has it gone now, or have you got another one? And Nkunku for me is a player that wants to be away from contact, I think, a little bit. So, yeah, we need to find someone like that. I think if we're going to go over after a striker, we need to find someone of that mould, probably, and this pains me, but probably instead of Osimhen's mould. That maybe Osman's probably a little bit better at doing that than Jackson. But I think maybe if we could get a completely different profile of striker, that would be really useful. You know, Haaland is so good at that. He can hold up the ball. He can go and just peel off his man, and he's a lethal finisher as well. And Haaland's like the top of the tree. I don't go and see us getting a Haaland type of player, but yeah, something around that, to be honest with you. But that's what I thought was a bit of an issue with Jackson and going forward. I don't think it's harsh to say Jackson had a bad game, but he definitely didn't have a good game, and I don't think he affected it as much. When he had the ball, he did okay, but he just didn't get enough of the ball. And then we're going to get onto this a little bit later, but Stephen's hit the nail on the head here. There's a little bit of a discipline issue at Chelsea. Like, look, don't get me wrong, the Bournemouth game is not helping this, but there is a little bit of a discipline issue at Chelsea right now. I just think there is. Ollie Watkins was never the solution. Now, we can throw names about. Off the top of my head, I can't. No one jumps to mind. That's what's so difficult about this role is I think in years gone by, there would have been, like, we could have littered names out for fun of players that could have fitted this role. And honestly, I don't think now I can think of that many that are good enough or achievable for Chelsea to go after. So that's an interesting one. And once I'm up for debate, I will do my best to try and find us someone. Like, yeah, this is the issue, right? This is the issue. There's a serious lack of good strikers in the top leagues. Yeah, we all saw Jackson. We're going to touch on that in a bit because I do want to address the discipline issue. Just rounding up that Forest game. Let's talk about. Should we talk about Enzo Fernandez? Because I feel like he flatters to deceive again. He didn't have an awful game. Like, I've seen him have worse games. Let's get that out there. I've seen him have games where he don't complete passes, where he gets bullied. He completed passes in this one against Forest, but they're sideways and they're boring and they're not unlocking the team. And in a team that's sitting back at times, like Forest were, you need to have a player on the pitch in Enzo's position that can unlock that team, that's got that really creative pass. And I just didn't see enough of it. I saw he'll switch the play. Then the ball gets passed back round to him. Then he'll try and switch the play again. And then sometimes it'll be like a little 5-yard pass. And I just felt like he didn't do enough, even though he wasn't as bad as he's been in previous games. He wasn't running the show. And for the type of money we've spent on him, he should be running the show. So very, very frustrating for me, Enzo Fernandez. Guys, what are your thoughts on Enzo? Do any of you think he's ever going to be good enough for Chelsea? Do any of you think he's ever going to be worth the money? Like, this is facts, AK. Like, I haven't seen a good one for Chelsea since Potter. Me neither. I can sit here and say that I haven't seen Enzo Fernandez really be consistent in performances since then. I do wonder whether or not he's ever going to be good enough for Chelsea. Maresca's playing him in a weird position as well, but in the only position I find that he might be able to play him, you know, like he's playing in a position which is like that left-sided 8 that can move up towards a 10 and then still tracks back a little bit because he's not going to play where Caicedo was. Yeah, that's true. This was a really good game, actually. But I think as consistent games go, I think he only had that under Potter. I don't think we saw him be that consistent under Poch. I'm lost with Enzo Fernandez. I genuinely have no idea how Chelsea ever get the best out of him. I just don't know. I look at him, I wonder what type of footballer he is. I don't know where his best position is. I don't know where he wants to play. I don't know why he's captain. I don't know what he's bringing to a dress. Maybe he does bring something to a dressing room. I'm not in it. I don't know. I don't see what he's bringing, though. I don't know. He did okay, but for the money we've spent on him, I'm not sure okay is good enough. And I'm not sure okay is going to win us games of football because okay didn't help us beat Forest. We drew. So, look, I'm not sure. I just don't see this sort of position where he's playing, right, Enzo Fernandez. If you imagine you've got Madueke, Palmer, Enzo, Sancho, right? And then the two behind are Casado and probably like Cucurella or Gusto, whoever inverts, right? That guy there in this left 8-10 is key to this team. And Joao Felix played it a little bit right towards the end of the game. I don't understand what we've seen in Enzo Fernandez to be the guy that we're trusting in that position, because I just haven't seen enough. Joao Felix could play there for me. I think Nkunku could play there. I think Dewsbury Hall was probably bought in to potentially play there. I think Enzo Fernandez has, for me, out of all these players that are starting in the Premier League right now for Maresca, he's the one closest to losing his position. And this is the reason why. Because he's captain, he's getting a little bit of an easier ride than some others, I think. I think maybe his future does lie deep. I also wonder if his future, like if it stays like this and there's not an upwards trajectory with him, I wonder whether his future lies at Atletico Madrid under Simeone or Juventus or Inter Milan, you know, in a slightly slower system that allows him to pick up that role. Because if we're being honest, is Enzo Fernandez worse than Rodrigo de Paul? I don't know if he actually is, but right now, Rodrigo de Paul in an Atletico Madrid system looks better. And that's the sort of thing that a system can do. And I think he could be very good, Enzo Fernandez. I think we've all seen there's quality there. I'm just not sure it suits him, this Premier League business. We've said it before. I'm just not sure at this moment in time he can think quick enough for the speed his body allows him to play football. I'm being completely honest, man. This is what I've been saying. Yeah, Santos is a shout, actually. Maybe. I'd rather play Nkunku there. With what we've got right now, I'd rather play Nkunku there. I've said this. The area of the pitch that I see Enzo Fernandez in when I'm at the games and I'm watching him, and Nkunku in that role can do something, you know. Do you know what? I think that's almost harsh on Saul. Sometimes, you know, like sometimes Sal did a little bit more than him eventually. To start with, he was probably worse. But Enzo is poor. Like Enzo, not necessarily poor, but if Enzo was playing him for Fulham or for Forest or for, you know, like a mid-table Prem team or lower, no one would be talking about Enzo Fernandez. And this, yeah, World Cup tax, man. Have you seen the amount of players that have like been sold or moved since that World Cup, and the amount of money they've gone for is crazy, and the player that they are is ridiculous. Yeah, Saul's definitely had a better career than Enzo Fernandez. Like Saul, maybe if you're talking solely on Chelsea, but like at Atletico Madrid, Saul has definitely been better. Definitely been better. I know he's not there now. I think he's at Seville. But as a whole career, I think Saul, like as an individual, has been obviously Enzo's won the World Cup, but like some shocking players have won the World Cup. I think Enzo's mid-table, if not lower. I really do. I just don't think he's been that good. Well, yeah. I'm not even sure. They're not that dissimilar. Look, Enzo Fernandez is a real tricky one for me. Like a really, really tricky one. I've seen so many players leave Chelsea that could have played in Enzo Fernandez's role that we could have kept for the amount of money we spent on him. And I genuinely would have kept every single one. We went over on deadline day to get this guy. Like we felt like he was the man. He was the player that Chelsea thought they would build their whole new project football club around, would be Enzo Fernandez. And it turned out that the £40 million player from City, who no one really backed, is the man that we're going to do that with. So, look, man, Enzo Fernandez is a really, really difficult one for me because I actually really want him to do well. I don't see what he brings as a captain. I don't see what he brings to the football pitch for the price tag. I don't see what he actually brings to the football pitch for half the price tag. You can't tell me that you wouldn't rather see Kovacic. Maybe if he plays deeper, maybe Jorginho. I think we're comparing him to Saul, right? That's crazy. That's how, like, Saul wasn't great at Chelsea, but had a couple of good games towards the end. I would rather have kept Kante, that was never fit. I would rather have kept Mason Mount in that position. I would rather have kept Conor Gallagher in that position. I'd rather have kept Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I'd rather play Carney. I may even rather play Dewsbury Hall on what I saw the other night. I just don't understand Enzo Fernandez and what he brings to this team. And I know people are saying about Lavia. I'm not sure what Lavia looks like in that role. I think Lavia looks really good when he's played, when he's been fit. We know he's struggling with injuries. But yes, I'm not sure what Lavia looks like in that real attacking role, to be honest. Does anyone? Because we've never seen him play there. Yeah, look at the players we could have kept. Do you know what? This is crazy. It either says Graham Potter is an unbelievable coach or he just got lucky for a bit. Like, maybe, because I just don't know. Mate, this is what I'm saying, but Kieran Dewsbury Hall the other night was more positive in the second half and can actually run and get around a football pitch better than Enzo Fernandez in that role. He definitely can. Enzo has off the ball attributes. Stop lying. He even needs the press from midfield sometimes. I don't think he doesn't try. I think that would be really harsh to say Enzo doesn't try. I just think he's not blessed physically. And that actually is just a hindrance to him in a league that has this much pace, in football that has this much pace. Whenever Enzo Fernandez plays, I feel like the team are carrying him a little bit. I think he's a good player, and I think he will have a good career. I'm just not sure it's in the Prem, and I'm not sure if it's under Maresca. I don't know. I haven't seen enough. But look, enough of Enzo Fernandez. He had an okay game. I agree with what you guys are saying, but I need to see more. I think some of Enzo's passes are really nice, and they're at the right time. He switches the play, or sometimes he's under pressure. There's a little 5-yard pass to the right, and it keeps the play alive. But sometimes you need a little bit more than that, and we don't see it. We just don't see it. And then you're looking for other players to have to drop deep, like against Forest, right? We saw Cole Palmer drop in, start trying to unlock that team. That should be Enzo on the other side, and we didn't see it. Imagine we had a midfielder, Kante, Kovacic, Jorginho, Sancasedo. Like, we could have had an unbelievable midfield, and we've obviously sold a lot of them. And I still think we have a very good midfield, and I think there's the makings in this team to be able to run games of football. But against a low block or a deeper block, whatever you want to call it, a mid block, sometimes Forest had, and then as soon as we got over that halfway line, they just kept going further back towards their own goal. We've got to do better as a club. We've got to do better as a team. If we want top 4 and we want the trophies back, yeah, we need a little bit more. Yeah, and Gerald, I don't disagree with you on this point, but I think you can get better. I think you can get better than Enzo. I really do. You're saying he's burnt out. He's played a lot of football in the last 2 years. Looks burnt out. Look, maybe he is. Maybe he is burnt out. I know he had the injury, and he just rested with that. But he came back so quick after that operation, really, didn't he? He didn't really have too much time out. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure to smash a like on this as well. We are pretty much 100 subs away from 3K, right? Which I know is still quite a lot, but with you guys smashing likes on the video, if we can get this to like 30 likes off the bat, which would be unbelievable with people coming in and out, that helps so much on getting us towards that goal, which we're trying to do before Christmas. If we can hit 3K before Christmas, I think that'd be absolutely unbelievable. Anyone on that left side would help Sancho. Yeah, I think even Cucurella inverting absolutely does help massively. I think even Cucurella coming in there protects. I think, guys, do you know who else I want to discuss? Do you know? Yeah, I don't want to bash. By the way, no. Let's do a positive thing. Let's do a positive thing really quickly. I want to talk about Mudryk. Mudryk, that cross that he put in to Nkunku, unreal. Mudryk against Ghent, very good. Mudryk still probably isn't good enough to be playing over Sancho, but Mudryk, there's improvements there, and there's a difference already. There's a difference already to Mudryk from the beginning of the season to now. And I just wonder whether a little bit of competition and a little bit of work is doing him the world of good. You know, I'm not saying Mudryk is fixed, and I'm not saying Mudryk plays instead of Sancho, instead of Netto, instead of Noni, instead of who have I forgot? Don't know. Well, there's one other winger, and then I think it's no. It's actually then he's probably like our fourth best winger, but he's improving. So look, if I see more and more performances like that, I can get behind it, and I will go. Do you know what? I don't believe you've got a footballing IQ, but I think you're educating yourself to have one, because this is a guy that sprinted. Like, we all know how quick he is. We all know he's got ability for days. We're just all so frustrated with how he uses it, because give any of us those physical attributes and we would be like, we'd be professional footballers, right? Because we all know what we want to do with the ball. We just don't have the physical attributes to be able to sprint down the wing at like 90 miles an hour and cross it. Mudryk did that the other day. He burnt his men on that left-hand side, got his head up, saw Nkunku, left foot, whipped it round the box and into Nkunku. And Nkunku should have scored, but that Celts pulled off a weldy. That was like, that's what I expect from Mudryk. And those little glimpses, it was a couple of times against Ghent, like steppies, beat his man, cross. And it's like, better, you know, no stupid touches, no dwelling on the ball, no dribbling it out of play. Like, actually, no, Gerald. I turned round and said this to the people I was sitting next to. You know, like last year, yeah, Mudryk gets the ball on the halfway line, no one in front of him, like straight to the goal, mate. Like, just run to the goal and you've got yourself an opportunity to get an assist or cross it or whatever. And last year, this is no lie, he'll take a dead touch with his left foot and it'd roll down the Stamford Bridge touchline and out of play and then down towards the ball boys and the advertising boards. Yeah? We've seen that happen. Something changed. The cross would have got into the stands. Ukraine Bolt, right? Don't get me wrong. He is rapid. But something changed the other day. He took a touch and it went exactly where everyone expects the touch to go. It went forwards and it was controlled. Then he took another one and he started getting faster and he took another one. And then he got his head up and you're thinking, oh my God, he stopped looking at the ball. It's going to go out of play. Then he delivers a weldy of a cross. And it's like, oh my gosh, that is what should happen, Mudryk. That is how you should be playing football. And I was thinking to myself, why is the international break coming? Because I wish we had a Thursday night game to see what he was about. Look, I don't know when Ukraine are playing, but I might have to have a watch. And that's the credit I'll give Mudryk right now. I don't think he's good enough to be playing and starting. But the last couple of games, there's been, yes, Gerald, yes. Yes, I don't think Maresca's having that poor decision-making. And, I've just seen a comment, by the way, we need to touch. I've just seen an improvement in Mudryk. That is something to be happy with, and I really hope he can go to another level, because we all know that Mudryk has everything. Yeah, he can dribble, he can shoot, he can pass, he can cross. He's so fast. We look at him in training on the YouTube channel, yeah? He looks unreal. Every game he plays, it doesn't translate to what we see in training. But that looked better for me. Right, before we go on to the negative, because we do need to speak about this, I want to know your thoughts, and what I wanted to try and do, which I will try and run. I'm not great at this, but I wanted to get your thoughts, because there's one player that we've had before at Chelsea. I'm sure you all know. Guys, by the way, you're absolutely smashing it. We're on 15 likes. We're halfway there. Keep smashing the likes. If we can hit 30 today, that'd be unbelievable. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 3,000 before Christmas, which is like unbelievable. How do I make a poll? Start a poll, right? Is Joao? Oh, there we go. Is Joao Felix what you expected? Let me know in the chat, right? Yes or no. Did that work? That's like one of the first ever polls we've done. I hope it worked. Let me know in the chat, right? Is Joao Felix what you expected? Yes or no? Because we've seen him before and we know he wasn't clinical, right? But I genuinely don't know if I need to see a little bit more from Joao Felix. He came on, obviously he had a header, but I'm not sure if Joao Felix, I was expecting a little bit more from him. You know, just a little bit. Just a little bit, man. I know we had him on loan, and I know he didn't get the type of goals that Joao Felix's name and price tag once suggested. But I probably expected a little bit more. I feel like at the moment it's very similar. There's a good player there, but he could get so much better as well. Maybe he's in a similar boat. He's not in a similar boat to Mudryk, because he does some very unbelievable things. But he's in a similar boat to Mudryk, that maybe a little bit more patience, man, to just get the best out of him. But this is a comment I really wanted to see if anyone mentioned this, because this is what I want to focus on. Someone said they were still worried about our defense. Someone said they were worried about us leaking goals, because we are. Annoyingly, by the way, because I think we're really playing well when we go forwards. I think we look really good. But this is an issue for me. We brought in a set piece coach, right? We brought in a set piece coach. Does anyone think, or has anyone seen anything from our set piece coach to suggest, going forwards, by the way, and defensively, that we look any better? Corners aren't just the only set piece. I'm talking free kicks, attacking and defending, which Nottingham Forest scored from, which Ghent scored from. I'm talking, well, I think that one was a corner. I'm talking throw-ins, like long throws. I just think from set pieces right now, I can't see. Yeah, but I can see like we're doing mad things. Like some of our set pieces, we're like queuing up at the edge of the box, and then we disperse, and then players go everywhere, and then there's a man free at the edge of the box, and then the corner hits the first man. Or some of our set pieces are like, defensively, we look all over the place, and then we can't get out to our defenders quick enough, to our, like, the people we should be marking quick enough, and we're conceding. That Forest goal, disaster. The Ghent goal midweek, disastrous. I would have wanted to see a little. Do you remember when I think it was Aston Villa or Liverpool brought in a set piece coach, and like straight away you started seeing the difference? It was like, whoa, that's crazy. So I don't know. I know he only came in the summer, but our set pieces have probably got worse than better this season. And I feel like that's a danger for us. If we played Arsenal right now, they're probably the best in the league. I I don't know. I wonder if they'd score like 2 or 3 because I don't feel like we're defending them very well at all. And I don't think we're attacking them very well. I know you're saying Jackson, when did we last score? We scored a header. Um, I'm not entirely sure. Teams, right. So this is the thing, Ishi, right? A lot of teams have good set pieces, yeah, because a lot of teams now have set piece coaches, and they are working on them, and they're improving, and they're looking better. This guy apparently was the set piece coach at Brentford. Maybe they just had better suited players to set pieces. Like if you think about Brentford's team, there is some actual man mountains in there. And defensively, though, against Ghent, we did have some big players on, like Dazassi, Badashile, Fofana didn't play. Tosin, we saw Vega. Like there's some real units in there. And defensively from corners, defensively from free kicks, I'm not sold just yet on that. And I'm keeping a real close eye on set pieces, and I suggest we all should be doing that too. There is no doubt, by the way, that Vega was a header. And I think from open plays a little bit different. It's the attacking of a corner. Like we had quite a few corners. And we've had quite a few corners this season. I don't know where we rank amongst like all the teams, but we've had quite a few corners. I don't think we've been like really threatening from set pieces, considering the fuss that Poch made about bringing in a set piece coach. And he was like, I don't want one. And the board obviously really wanted one. I don't think it's been as a smooth addition to the coaching staff as potentially it could have been yet. I'm not saying it's a write-off, by the way. I do think eventually it will work. But I also think that our corners need to improve, because I don't know if you guys see this. I feel like we hit first man way too often. And I also think quite a few players are going to be too small for the type of set pieces we're attempting to make work for us. You know, I look at Brentford, they've got some monsters in their team. And if they're not tall, physically, they're willing to like fight and really contest and jump really high. I need to see a little bit more. We've defended corners well. We've not looked threatening. Didn't we concede against Ghent from a corner, Gerald? Or was that like the second action from the corner? Yes, so maybe you're right. Gerald. Maybe we've defended our corners well, but it's the action after the set piece which is a bit of an issue. Maybe you're right, because even that Forest goal, the ball comes over the top, they win the header, knock it straight down, but no one was around the guy who scored the goal for Forest. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we've actually defended them okay. It's just the transition back to out of a set piece and the second action. But our corners going forward, like offensively, I feel like we just hit first man way too often. And I think that's like a really small adjustment. But I will give a little bit of sympathy to the players. I don't know how many people have ever been Stamford Bridge, yeah, but it's hard to describe unless you've actually been there. The pitch is like raised, so it's flat, and then all the sides are like this as soon as you run off for drainage. All the corners, like they're on such an incline. If you've ever tried to kick a ball like that, it's not the easiest thing in the world to generate your run up and power when it's like a really awkward AstroTurf slant. And I do wonder how much that affects him, because I feel like corners hitting the first man, that was an issue in like with Willian taking corners and stuff. So it's not brand new, but we have had players in the past that could defeat the Stamford Bridge pitch, if that makes sense as well. Big up Dan. I would say it's funny how Cover is actually better than Enzo, and I've never used to rate him. Do you know what, man? You know what, Clinton? Like, this is a really good shout. We've seen a lot of players leave Chelsea, and we probably didn't appreciate them at the time for what they were. And when you actually go and see them play and you recruit something that's a little bit worse, you kind of realize the level that player was at. And I think Kovacic is a perfect example. Like, we all know right now, we'd probably rather have Kovacic than Enzo Fernandez. But at the time, we were like, you could do so much better than Kovacic. And you can, because you can get a Rodri or someone who's really exciting, like a Camavinga or someone like that. And that's what we probably had our eyes on. But at the same time, you can do a lot worse. And by the way, you can do worse than Enzo Fernandez. Stamford Bridge pitch. I heard, I don't know the facts on this, but I've been told that, Rodri would never join Chelsea. I've been told the Stamford Bridge pitch is like one of the biggest pitches in the Prem. It's like max regulations, apparently. It's just the gap from pitch to fan is probably quite tight. And it probably makes it feel small. Like West Ham Stadium, huge open running track. Like if you are front row at West Ham Stadium, you are still miles from the pitch. If you're front row, I stood front row Chelsea Bournemouth when Caicedo scored the goal, and it was like Thiago Silva's last game last season. Like I could put my hand out through the netting and probably have touched the goal netting. That's how close you are, and on the sides you're very close as well. Maybe that makes a difference. Maybe that's why the players that aren't intimidated by the crowd, your Diego Costas, players like that, Drogba, Giroud, try and think back of players like that sort of ilk, they are not intimidated by fans being that close to the pitch. And I wonder how much of a difference that actually makes. So anyway, right, let's all of us do this. Keep an eye on Mudryk over the international break. Right, I want you guys feeding back to me. If you don't already, follow me on Twitter, follow me on TikTok, whatever it is. And if you see Mudryk performing, let me know, right? And if not, tell me in one of these chats. But I want to see it, right? So make sure you follow me on all the socials to let me know if Mudryk's performing, because I want to see that. And let's keep an eye on Chelsea's set pieces going forward, because I think we need to improve. And Mudryk winner at Anfield, that would hit, man, because do you know what it is? Guys, do you remember that? I always say this, but I think we all think it. Mudryk winner against Liverpool in any competition would hit, because do you remember that first game when he made his debut? And it was like, we thought we had the heir to Hazard's throne. It was like, we don't need Hudson-Odoi. We don't need Hazard. Yeah, like this, we saw him dance through those players with those quick feet. And he looked unreal. And I don't think he scored, but I was like, wow, this is another level of player. Like, he's so fast to have quick feet like that. And then I just never seen it again. Just never seen it again. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Mudryk do that again. I think I saw a glimpse against Leeds last year when he played 10. But I would say that I wouldn't mind if we never saw that again, which would be a bit of a shame. And I always remember it and I hold it up here on this mad level of what he did. But what I would say is I would take what I saw of the Mudryk against Forest on a much more consistent basis. Like, that looks like a polished up footballer. That doesn't look like a player that's like a bit like dead and doesn't really know what he's doing. That looked like a polished left winger that knows how to beat his man, knows how to run with a ball, understands transitions, understands where players are around him, what type of cross needs to happen. I would take that. And obviously, if he scored against Liverpool, I think that would be like a little bit ironic, because obviously scoring against Liverpool, that would be like, it'd be good because of that history of Liverpool and Mudryk together. Lavia's fit. I think he's fit. I think he is. Lavia, Void, I have to agree. I really think it was. Lavia's meant to be fit. I don't know if Lavia gets in where Enzo plays. I think if Enzo is dropped for Lavia, the system changes a little bit. I don't know if does Lavia play like attacking 8? I don't know if I see that. This is crazy. Oh, should we talk about that? Should we talk about the discipline issue? Anyone think Chelsea's got a discipline issue? Because I do in some aspects, because I think we saw it last year. I think we've seen Jackson be questionable at times. We've seen Noni Madueke kick up a fuss with penalties. But what I will say is this season, I think the referees have got an issue with Chelsea. I think the refs have got an issue. That Bournemouth game was a joke. The Bournemouth game was a joke. I thought that probably won't happen, right? But then the Forest game happened, and Nico Williams shoves Cucurella flying into Maresca. Maresca's obviously like cleaned out. Cucurella's cleaned out. Obviously, Levi Colwill, Jackson, they all come flying over. They're like not having it. Brawl breaks out. Jackson goes too far. But how on earth Cucurella, how on earth does Cucurella get booked? I've watched it back a couple of times. I watched it when I was there. I sat there like Cole Palmer. Like that, just chilling, just watching it all blow over. And I was thinking, nah, fair enough. I actually think Chelsea should react like this because that's not right. What Nico Williams did is dangerous. And if a manager ever gets taken out, that's too far. And I think the way Levi come over, that's my captain, I think. When I look at this team right now, without Reece, Levi. He's got that about him, you know? Levi's got that. Levi, boom, straight over. No, you don't mess around with my team. You don't mess around with my players. Speak to me if you want something dealing with. Speak to me if you've got an issue. Levi Colwill, he gets it. It's a bit, John Terry had that. Like, Drogba had that. Remember at the camera, telling everyone what he thought. Levi Colwill has that. Like, he does. He gets it. Reece James has that, but he's never fit. How on earth the referee found a way to book him is ridiculous. How we got all those yellow cards against Bournemouth is ridiculous. How we've been fined for that game is a joke. How we've been fined now, another like 50 grand, is a joke. There's an issue here, and I think this could be bang on. We're the young bucks, and some of them are cocky. And I think like even Cole Palmer was given it a little bit, and he got booked. And I think that's why when it was all like kicking off, he took a step back because he don't want a red. But I don't like that. I don't like the referees at the moment treating Chelsea in the way that they are because I don't think it's warranted. I don't actually think we're a dirty side. I don't actually see that. Sometimes last year, I criticised them for being a little bit too nice. I criticised them for not having that little bit of extra to their game, the dark arts. You know, Forest were dirty. We weren't. And like, we're the ones that have been framed as the bad guys after that performance. And I do take issue with that because I think what happened to Cucurella is too far. If any manager ever ends up on the deck, it's too far. And that brawl broke out, rightly, in my opinion, because I think Levi Colwill felt that the referee had lost control of that game. And that wasn't the only thing. The time wasted in the second half. 13 minutes added on. It wasn't even enough. That's how bad it was. I don't know if anyone's got the stats, right? And I don't know anyone at Opta. But if anyone could tell me how much the ball was in play from like the 69th minute to the end of like 90 before the added time was added, and even during added time, genuinely, I reckon it was out of play so much. Yeah, like Ward-Prowse, just a shit David Beckham, mate. Grabbed the ball when Jackson was through, like deliberately. I looked at it, the way he grabbed it, Jackson was through. How on earth? I know he got a second yellow, but is that not a straight red? Is that just not a free match ban, grabbing the ball like that? I think that's a straight red. I don't even know if Nico Williams got booked, by the way. There's an issue here with referees and this Chelsea side. But let's turn this into a praise. Okay, we can't react to the level Jackson did because that's important. Yeah, Jackson, our best striker right now, could go and get suspended for a few games because he's clearly raised the hand. He's clearly put it to his face. It's too far. You can't do it. We all know that. But Yates as well. Yeah. Oh, I thought, nah, I don't like that Yates. He just makes you, he just gets you rattled. He's just one of them guys. Even if he didn't play football, he would rattle people. You can just see, right? This is so true. This is so true. And I actually think for a little while, this disappeared. I know like Anthony Taylor's always been a bit dodgy and some of the others, I think it disappeared. But just recently, it's creeping back in. But I will give praise to Levi Colwill. Right now, footballing wise, he's barely putting a foot wrong. Couple of little blips, but you can get rid of them quite easily. You know that one against Brighton where he smashed the ball into the guy and then they ended up scoring? You can get over that. You can work on that, especially at his age. Levi Colwill looks different this season. You know, I saw a lot last year where Levi Colwill, he would sometimes just smash the ball long and he wouldn't really worry about the risk that came with losing the ball, or Poch played him left back and he did okay, but he weren't ever going to be a left back. And then he would get injured and he'd be out for a little bit. And he'd just, you know, he was a bit hot-headed at times. Now, he's way more controlled on the ball. He's more aware of what happens if he smashes the ball. You know, it's not like just smash the ball and then defend again. He smashes the ball and tries to turn it into a pass. His like a couple of the blocks against Forest were unbelievable. It shows how alert he was. Levi Colwill, fair enough. Like that is a player right now that I think is up there with centre backs in the Premier League. And I'm not saying he's as good as, but he's going that way. Like he looks really solid. And I know he's had his plaudits before, and I know he's been praised heavily, Levi. But there were issues when he was being praised. Like people were getting too excited. Right now, this is what you get excited about, because this is a kid who looked a little bit immature at times for Brighton and Chelsea a little bit last season. There's maturity now. There's mature. Like, don't get me wrong. There'll be moments, but there's a maturity kicking into this guy now. And the way he went over, and the way he looked like an absolute leader and protected his Chelsea teammates and his Chelsea manager on the pitch, that's the first sign of a captain that I've seen, or like for this Chelsea team in a while. You know, the last moment that jumps to me is Reece James actually against Forest when he won the game for us. But that was the first time I genuinely looked at Levi Colwill and I thought, you might be the captain of this team one day. Like you've just got something that you can't teach. You can learn, I think, because I think someone like Azpilicueta came without that and learned it. But Levi's got that. He's got the DNA that you need to be a leader at Chelsea Football Club. And don't get me wrong, he's not perfect. I think this is an interesting point. If this is about Levi Colwill, I agree. There's some issues there, and he's not perfect, but he's moving in the right way. And considering where we felt like we might be after losing Thiago Silva, and we felt like we might be with some of the other players, someone was going to have to step up. And I feel like he's the one right now that is stepping up. I feel like Cucurella's playing okay. I don't think Gusto's looked great. I'm giving Gusto a bit of time because he's got money in the bank for me. He's got a bit of credit. I think Vega's looked okay. I don't think Fofana's looked unbelievable. Definitely not looked as good as Levi. Tosin's looked okay. I think Tosin, Levi. Now that's the only thing with Fofana is his recovery pace is an absolute joke. You see it against Forest, like he's very quick, but Tosin Levi could be a back two. Yeah, I think Gusto just doesn't look great inverted. And I think we saw that in pre-season with Reece as well. I just think that maybe those players are better off being wide. And I don't know how that works in Maresca's system. But yeah, Tosin Levi. Like Tosin is impressing me every time I see him play. He looks a little bit more comfortable and a little bit better. Like he's understanding what he's supposed to be doing. And I genuinely think, although our defense isn't great, I do think there's good signs there. Sanchez, couple of really good saves. Do I ever think Sanchez is going to be Chelsea's number one? No. Like not like he's number one right now, but not nailed on. Like there's still doubts. We could go and replace him quite easily. I don't think we stick with him. I just think there was moments when Sanchez gave the ball away with his feet, and it just worries me. I feel like he's never really got rid of that. But at the same time, I honestly, by the way, our defense could be months against Liverpool. Like it could actually be very. Do you know what? That sounds like a great back line, though, doesn't it? Vega, Tosin, Colwill will be a 3. Gusto will invert. I think that sounds really good. Imagine if Reece James. By the way, we haven't said that, but Reece James has apparently been training for a little bit. They really want to make sure they can manage him. So, no, that's true. That's why that is why Maresca's doing this. Maresca, I think Poch. Hear me out. This is where Poch made his biggest mistake. In pre-season, he played in a way that Nkunku fitted into the team, and it looked really good. Then Nkunku got injured, and Poch changed the system, and we looked rubbish. And the players were like, hang on, we've spent all pre-season working on that tactic. Now you're telling us to do this. And the fans are like, what are you doing? We tried this, and it looked really good, and now you changed it up. That was Poch's biggest mistake. Maresca's gone, we'll play the same way. I don't really care. We're going to play the same way. But when a player comes back in, you're just going to be doing your roles that you need to for my system to work. And then that player fits in straight away. That's what you should do. Poch lost the dressing room and the fans instantly as soon as he changed it. They went, what? Why would you do that? Did you see how good we looked in pre-season? Don't change it because Nkunku's injured. Find someone to cover that position and teach them how to play that role. And maybe you're right. Maybe Gusto is none of that. Because we all know that if Reece James could be fit, or as good as he is out wide, Reece James is so dynamic. He could play out wide. He could come in. He could drift back inside to play central. He could go to right back. He can cover at centre back. Reece James is mustard. Reece James could do all of that, and maybe you're right. And I genuinely think that was one of Poch's biggest mistakes, and I've said that before, and I think that's a really good point. Is it's so important if you're coaching a team and you've got beliefs, you stick with those beliefs. And if someone gets injured, just find someone to cover the gap for a bit, and if you're in a top club, you can turn around and say, look, we needed this player here, and if we can't replace him, we have to go to the transfer market in January. And with the amount of games Nkunku played last season, Poch probably could have gone to them in January and said, look, I need someone in this role, because we went and signed a Joao Felix this summer. So we could have got someone. So, I think Reece James has the ability to dominate a midfield, doesn't he? And I think that's why he could look so good. We all knew how good we looked in pre-season under Poch, and it just disappeared. But that's what happens when you don't stick to your ideology as a manager. But look, I think as a whole, if you'd have said to me at the beginning of the season, because I said I didn't know where Chelsea would be with Maresca in the picture, because I didn't know what we were getting. But if you said to me, come the second international break, early October, you'd have lost one game in the Prem. It would be only to your first game where you're not fully at it against Manchester City. You'd draw to Forest, who would be sitting decently top half, and you draw to Palace, but you should have won it. And you'd won your other games. I'd probably sit there and go, oh, yeah, and you scored 6 against Wolves, and you scored 4 against Brighton, and Cole Palmer scored 4 in a game. Madueke's got a hat-trick. Sancho's looked unreal. You've signed some of these players. Because at that point, when I said this, we hadn't done all of that. I would have snapped your hand off. I'd have said, hang on, that sounds all right. Where are we in the league? And then you would have told me that we're 4th. I'd have said, that's unbelievable. Yes, that sounds like a good idea. Well done on getting that manager in. Well done on recruiting it the way you did. You don't know that. And I can sit here and hold my hands up and say, like, I had no idea what we were getting with Maresca. And we've got a really difficult test of fixtures coming up, which I think will only give us a clearer picture. But I'll sit here right now and I'll back Maresca to, oh, you know what? Yeah. Liam Delap is a player. I will sit here now, and even if there's issues in the coming games against Liverpool, Newcastle, United, who else? We got a couple of others coming. We got a really tough run in actually, all the way till like December. If we're still fourth and maintaining that, and we get like minimum 6 points out of those really tricky fixtures, I'd be really happy. But if say we get 4 points or 3 points, and we're quite close in some of the games, but some of the games are a battering, and it's a difficult period for us. Yeah, I'd back Maresca to learn. I'd back him to understand exactly what to do. I would because I've seen Maresca make some mistakes already. Have us play in a certain way. That second half against Palace, it wasn't very good, and against Bournemouth, where everyone looked a bit confused. He's learnt from that. He's learnt from it like that. I keep saying this. Pochettino took so long. Maresca learns really quick. And then not only does he learn quick, he translates it to his players very quickly. And they seem to pick it up really quick. And I think there's a solid group here. And my only issue is, I've got a couple, is injuries, is our confidence. Last year when we lost, fell off the face of a cliff. Last year when Leicester lost, they went on like a huge downward spiral. They dropped an 18-point lead. That would be the issue for me, is what happens if we lose and we get into like a rut, how we get out. But at the same time, I've got a little bit of trust that we could. And the only other issue is if teams set up against us like Forest, have we got enough with the midfield, like we talked about with Enzo Fernandez, to break that team down? So I'm not sure. Let's see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Can we maintain 4-5 the international break? So Stephen, yeah, look, Liverpool's a tough game, always a tough game. I think we could beat Newcastle. Newcastle play an open brand of football. Do you guys think we could beat Newcastle? I think so. Do you think we could beat... Well, I'm not going to count the European games. Do you think we could beat Man United? Well, on today's news, it looks like they're keeping Eric Ten Hag. I think we could beat Man United. So I think we could. If you get 6 points out of those 9 that we spoke about there, that's okay. Who else? We got someone else a bit tricky as well. We got Villa? No, is it Villa? Hang on. Sorry, my keyboard is a bit loud, but have we got Villa? We got Liverpool, Newcastle twice in a week, by the way, of the League Cup. Panathinaikos, Man United. We got Arsenal. Now, Arsenal's going to be tough. We've got Arsenal at home. That's going to be tough. So, bit of an issue there. Can we get 6 points out of 12 going into the 3rd of November? 10th of November is Arsenal. Then have we got... Right. So by the time we're at the next international break, we would have played in the league Liverpool, Newcastle, Man United, Arsenal. If you ever needed a test or you ever needed help judging where you are against the top of the league, that is it, isn't it? All 4 of those teams were in most people's predictions before the season started for top 4. I saw one here. If Reece... honestly, Reece changes the outlook of things if he stays fit. Chelsea Blue says he got so much faith in Maresca. I'm not worried. We found the manager we needed. It's a good start. It's early days to say he is the one we needed because, look, I'm not going to sit here and fluff it all up. The manager we need needs to be winning trophies. If you're not winning trophies as Chelsea manager, you're not doing the right thing. I think we could win a trophy this season with the way we're playing. I genuinely think we could win a trophy this season. We look that good. Dan, we need players to stay fit over international duty. I know. Did anyone? I think someone said it. Where did I just see that? Guys, the chat flashes and I lose what you say. Did anyone? Someone said it, I think. And Kunku got called up for France. And Kunku got called up for France. You know what happened the last time he went to France? He missed the World Cup. He missed the World Cup. I'm a little bit worried because I really like Nkunku. And I think he started so well. I don't want him to get injured. I don't want him to get injured. I want Nkunku to stay at Chelsea and I want him to break into our starting 11. And obviously, going to France is risky. And I just hope Deschamps and French people, you manage him okay. I really do. I just, come on, man. Fingers crossed. Please. I don't want more injuries. What I'll say, though, is with our injuries, do you guys think Maresca's doing a better job, like in managing the players' injury? Maybe it's not just him. Maybe it's like this new physio team as well. But I feel like there's not this intent to rush players back. We've got a bigger squad. It's like, look, if a player is injured and we've got enough players, just let them mend, let them rest, let their muscle be built up, get them in the gym, and get them working on the strengthening around that issued area, because that's what happens, isn't it? If there's an issue somewhere that's reoccurring, you have to strengthen the other muscles around it to support it. That's what happens. Like, make sure their recovery is spot on. Make sure the way that they return to training isn't rushed. It's not drastic approach. If they got any niggle, rest them again. And that's what a bigger squad allows us to do. We know full well last year, Pochettino, he definitely did. He definitely didn't manage it perfectly, but I don't think it was all his fault at the same time. But I don't think his methods in training helped, to be honest with you. Conference League, when you look at the players that are going to be in it and the way they've started, yes, it probably should be. When you could potentially add the likes of Cole Palmer to that and a Lavia, potentially a Reece James, then you have to win it, because we're talking about players that are good enough to play in the Champions League. So you have to. This is interesting. I've heard a few things as well. There's definitely a new sort of structure, apparently. So this is good to see. Hopefully it works. Too early to say, says Void. I know it's early. We do need to remember this as well. It's early days and we don't want to get carried away, but we can all sit here and agree right now that even if the next 4 games go awful, it's probably better than Poch. It's probably better than Poch, because last year we really struggled against the worst teams and we've done all right. Like, we have done all right. Forest are a good side. We might have lost that last year. Crystal Palace is the one that's probably closest, but I think Maresca was trying something that didn't work. I think we've looked better against the teams we might have lost in games against last year. I just think we have. And once we get through that difficult run and we go into like the Christmas period, we've got Spurs, I think we've got Aston Villa, but then we've got teams we can beat, man. Like, then we've got teams that are tricky and they're difficult to navigate. And like, you remember we went up to Wolves on Christmas Eve last year and we lost. But at the same time, I think we lost. Did we draw? And then a little bit afterwards, we lost to Wolves and Cunha got a hat-trick at Stamford Bridge. Either way, they're the sort of games that we lost last year. So I think we've made a bit of an improvement. I think that's what's good to see, is that Chelsea are moving in the right direction. Before we jump on to the next topic, which is an interesting one for me, because this is the debate I've had all day, and I'm sure some of you want to have your say on it as well. Make sure to smash a like. We're 5 likes off the like target today, which is 30. We're trying to grow the channel to 3,000 before the start of the Christmas sort of period. We want to be there. Like, that's the Christmas present to the community, is 3K subs. I would absolutely love to do that. So smash a like if you haven't already. Make sure to subscribe if you are new, because we are on that journey to build this community up. And I love having these chats. I'm seeing loads of new faces. I'm seeing the usuals in here. It's so good to have you guys in here, being able to chat on a random Wednesday afternoon in the middle of an international break, we can sit here and have a chat about Chelsea when we're bored to death listening about international breaks and England and boring Lee Carsley talk. I don't want to hear it. Do you know what else? I've heard so much about legal cases and inflated sponsorship deals and 115s and FFP. I just miss football. I just want to talk about football. Does anyone just miss the days when like all this wasn't in the news and you just go game to game to game and you just watch football and enjoy it? I do miss that a little bit. You know, I remember when the drama wasn't there. Wolves did the double. Thanks for clearing that up, Gerald. I couldn't remember. I knew that Boxing Day game wasn't good. But guys, 2 likes away. I know some of you haven't smashed it. We should be hitting that by now. Been live for an hour. 30 likes is minimal. I see other channels, they come out with huge numbers, and I think to myself, if I ask my chat to do that, I don't know if they do it. I know you guys have got enough in you to smash it. We're one off. Come on. If you haven't pressed it, you know who you are. Anyway, let's look, we'll look at this. I agree. I know. I completely agree. People have got a lot of questions about it because it's very confusing. But I'm one of those. I could talk about it if I need to, and I've educated myself on it a little bit. But I just like football too much. That's what I want to speak about. I heard they did very well, didn't they? Bombastor has taken over, obviously, for the women's team. We'll have to see how that goes because Emma Hayes obviously did a fantastic job. Isn't it mad that Emma Hayes and Pochettino are now part of the USA? I wonder if Todd Bowley had a little phone call and said, do you know what? I've got 2 really good managers. We need some compensation, America, because our FFP's a little bit tight. Fancy buying them? Fancy giving us a bit of compensation? Yeah, they do. I mean, all fans go, oh, I missed the transfers, mate. I missed that David Luiz Torres transfer window. That was the first time I felt a hit of dopamine. When we were signing them players, I thought we were going to win the Champions League that year. I didn't think it'd be 2 years later, but I couldn't believe. I remember sitting there in school and Torres was on a helicopter and it was going nuts and no one knew if he was coming or going. There was the surprise factor still there. I miss that, mate. I miss the old deadline days, of course. They were brilliant days. You can't even deny it. Deadline day back then when it was outside the ground or outside the training ground and people were rocking up, whacking toys about in the background and just having a good laugh. I miss those days. I miss how it used to hit when you'd sign a player. When we signed Netto this summer, that's the closest we've been to a deal out of the blue since obviously Danny Ings at West Ham went a bit under the radar, but since the good old days, pre-COVID, Fabrizio Romano, they're the good old days. But I want to have a chat. Yeah, Matt, you're bang on, mate. We did. Ten Hag's going to stay at Manchester United. Obviously, very happy about that. I don't think it's good for English football. I think Manchester United are one of those clubs that should be at the top. But at the same time, if that's what they want to do, all I can say is thank you, Chelsea fans, and thank you, people who evaluated who should buy Chelsea, because Ineos, can you imagine? At least this ownership, Clear Lake Capital, Blue Co, Todd Bowley, Egg Barley, have sacked managers there if they ain't been good enough. They're keeping Ten Hag, man. I know he's won trophies, but my gosh, that football is so bad. And that could have been our owner. He's got a season ticket at Chelsea. He wanted, I don't know if he does this season, by the way, but he wanted to be part of Chelsea. Can you imagine if that is who we've got as an owner? It could be worse than this right now. Oh my gosh. If they get Tuchel as well, that'd be sad. But for right now, they're keeping... Do you know what? I've seen the manager I held closest to my heart in Jose go to teams I detest, and I've lived with it. And he came back as well once. So look, he hadn't gone to those teams then though when he came back, which is, but you know, it happens in football. It just does. But him staying there, I just thank you for Ineos not getting that stake at Chelsea, because that would have been an issue. Let's talk about Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer, England Player of the Year. In the chat right now, Cole Palmer, Saka, Foden, you rate them for me. We on Never a Foul, we did keep, bench, sell. You can do that if you want, or you can just do it on pure footballing ability. Who would you have? Because for me, I think Cole Palmer is in the discussion of the best player in the Prem this season, which puts him in the top 5 in Europe, which means he's top 5 in the world if you pick one from each league. But you don't even have to do it like that. I genuinely think Cole Palmer, it's not a ludicrous thing to say right now that he's in the top 5 of players in the world at this moment in time. I think he's been that good. 7 games in the Prem, 6 goals, 5 assists. And even when he hasn't got something like a goal involvement, that what he's actually doing is unbelievable. Palmer looks unreal. Like, he's so good and he's so like chilled out and he plays without fear and he's exciting. The numbers are a joke. If you look at just his numbers, they are astounding. Like I looked earlier and I only did this to rattle people, but his first Premier League full season last year is better numbers-wise than that Gareth Bale that moved to Madrid. Now, I'm not saying he's better than Bale, by the way, because I just don't think he is. But his numbers are better than that, which is crazy. You know, in my head, how good that Gareth Bale is. He's like this good. He's up there with like Ronaldo when he got his move. Palmer might be cut from the same cloth. You know, Palmer might just be that guy. He may genuinely be good enough to go and win a Ballon d'Or. You know, he could be that good. I don't know. But if you signed Cole Palmer and you didn't put a Ballon d'Or clause on the sale to that team, that would be ludicrous, right? You know, like Eden Hazard had it and that. I think he has earned that, because if he carried on the way he is right now, you would think that it could happen. Genuinely. So I think, for me, Palmer starts all day. It's just whether or not you play Foden or Saka. And for me, I think Palmer could either play on the right or centrally. And I think Foden can do the same, but he could also play centre mid. I think you'd bench Foden. And I think Saka would miss out. It doesn't mean Saka's bad, by the way, but that's just what I'd say. I actually think, and I was thinking about this, if you think about the way Chelsea are playing right now, imagine where Enzo Fernandez is, and imagine where Madueke is, and imagine where Cole Palmer is. If England played that setup, you could get all 3 of them in the team. I actually thought about this. You could get Cole Palmer in the 8-10 role that he's in. You could get Saka playing on the right where Madueke is. You could get Foden on the left side where Enzo Fernandez is. And then you'd have on the left probably Anthony Gordon. And then I think you'd have Declan Rice. The only one that misses out there is Jude Bellingham. But Jude Bellingham right now has played 7 games and I think got 1 assist. Real Madrid are in a weird place. Like, they've got injuries. They've got a bit of an injury crisis. They've got issues. They're just a little bit all over the place at Real Madrid. And Bellingham is like not like flying like he was at this point last season, but he's not a bad player. Let's be real about that. But I do wonder if Chelsea's current system right now would actually work for England. Like, you can imagine Watkins or Kane. I think probably Watkins, by the way, in front, even though it will be Harry Kane. But I just kind of wonder, what do you think? Do you think Chelsea's current system now would work for England? We don't have a left back, so you'd find someone that could invert, or a right back, and play 3 centre backs. I do wonder. I do wonder whether or not our system with Maresca could work for England. Southgate's not there anymore, obviously. Owners will cash in. Look, this is my biggest fear. But if they do, it will be for a lot of money. I said this like when we did the keep bench sell. If you sold no, I mean for England. You can't Enzo Fernandez don't play, but like if you think about that's the system that Chelsea are playing and play that for England, that 3-2-4-1, which it kind of looks like. If you played that, I actually think you'd have like a solid base for a national team. I think that'd look really good. You could even not play a fullback and just go with 3 centre backs straight away and play Rice, Bellingham, Foden, Palmer, Saka, Grealish probably, or Gordon, and then striker would obviously be Watkins or Kane. I think that'd be unreal. By the way, I'm not advocating for Cole Palmer to be sold. Can I just say that? People think when I say this, they're delusional. But I was here when we sold our best ever player in Eden Hazard, and that broke me. I remember seeing a supposedly Finnish Frank Lampard go to Man City and score against us. I remember seeing John Terry leave. I remember seeing Didier Drogba leave, and then he came back. I've seen our best ever players leave, and I know it can happen. I'm not advocating for it. Like, I do not want to see Cole Palmer go at all. But I do worry, is there a bit of this board that are just obsessed with profit, that if they buy a player for 40 million, how difficult is it to turn down like 110 million? I do worry, because wouldn't you like imagine you were a businessman and you could make 100 million? I would worry. I would, but this is the point, right? If they even considered selling Palmer, they would show that they don't care about winning, and obviously the fans would riot because the fans love Cole Palmer. But I can't trust Chelsea's owners. I can't trust them. They haven't given me any reason. Yeah, this is my hope, Matt, right? This is my hope, is that I think there are other players we can sort of subsidize that profit on, right? We've given Cole Palmer such a big contract. That would be my hope. But we need to be winning trophies then, yeah? Because if you've got a player as good as Cole Palmer, you have to win trophies. So let's start, as a club, if we got this guy potentially for 9 years, we should reward him whilst he's here. Don't you agree? Noni will be sold. Do you think? Does anyone think Noni will be sold? Like, if you realistically look at Chelsea's squad, like the whole team that's there right now, who do you think goes? Does anyone jump out to you as someone that's sold? And Paez and Esteban coming in. Right, so we're going to have a clear out. Like, players are still going to leave. Who do you think will go? Noni for Esteban, Paez, Nico, Jackson. Wow, Enzo and Noni. I don't know who buys Enzo. They almost sold him. I know, and then he's having quite a good season. Like, his goal against Forest was really good. Wow, I'm quite shocked some of you think that. Noni seems to be like the recurring name. Jackson, I don't think Jackson gets sold. They just gave him a new contract. Mudryk's up for debate, isn't he? Mudryk's up for debate. You know what I just thought? In the Sancho contract, doesn't it say like if Chelsea finish anything below 14th, we don't have to permanently sign him? And then Manchester United are actually battling for like that far down in the league. That is ironic, isn't it? Right in there. Now I think, so you think because Noni's playing well, then they might try and cash in on him. Yeah, I could hear that. Dewsbury Hall? Nah, not yet. Not yet. Although there's question marks around him. I think he's looked all right in the last couple. Chilwell. They're saying Chilwell to United. Let's do a Makalani with a real take. Oi. Chelsea should be lurking around Real Madrid. This is facts, yeah? Chelsea should be lurking around Real Madrid. Because I think I was saying this on LB show the other day. We were doing like the Champions League show. There's a couple of players that I don't see their future be. Chukwuemeka's another name, by the way. I don't see their future at Real Madrid being very secure. Couple of players, maybe Rodrigo, maybe Valverde. Not saying he's not good enough. I just wonder, with all the superstars they've signed, where he fits in, even though he's a very good player. Tchouaméni, defensively, does Rudiger leave? Do they go and get people younger? I'm just wondering. I mean, Militao is injured again, though, so that Rudiger's probably feeling like he's pretty secure in that. Camavinga, maybe. There's players, I think, that are going to fall out of Real Madrid. Not just like it always happens at Madrid. You know, players all like Mesut Ozil was so good. Di Maria was so good. No one saw these players leaving, and then all of a sudden there was no room for them. I just think if you've got your net out, you're just sitting there waiting, and you take whoever falls. And I know United did it with Varane, but I think that's what you do. You sort of sit there and you go, they're going to have a clear out. Things aren't right at Real Madrid right now. Anyone at Real Madrid is good enough to play for Chelsea. Like anyone. You sit there with your net out, ready, right? And as soon as you catch one, bang, on the phone to the agent. Do you want to come and play for us? Maybe a loan deal. Do you know what I mean? But these players like Tchouaméni, we need a bit of physicality in our midfield. He'd be great. But the issue is you've got like Lavia and Casado. I don't know where Tchouaméni gets in. I don't think he's a left 8. Imagine, by the way, imagine how we counter-attack. You imagine if you caught Valverde on a lucky one, because that bloke in transition is a joke. But that's what I'm saying, Matt, right? Matt, you're bang on, by the way. I'm loving some of these opinions, as I am with everyone, by the way. I think this is a great chat. Make sure to smash a like if you haven't. We're over 30 now, so let's aim for 40, aim for 50. We're going for the stars. Let's see if we can smash some likes on this one. The imbalance that has come with Mbappe joining Real Madrid is right? That has caused an issue. That has caused an issue at Real Madrid. And I think there will be Premier League clubs sniffing around players that could end up leaving because of that Mbappe addition. And you know what made it even more difficult? The Endrick edition. You could have just got Mbappe, but now they're trying to fit Endrick in at times as well. They just and like Bellingham obviously playing in that role last year and performing as well as he did has made it more difficult. Who's better, Netto or Madueke? That's a tough one. I don't know. Right now, it's hard to say because Madueke's in 4 goals this season, but been very wasteful. But Pedro Neto probably, on what I've seen, is better. But Noni has closed the gap up. I think if you'd have asked me last season, I would have said Neto easily. But I think Noni probably has closed that gap a little bit now. It probably is Neto. I don't know if Madueke moves for 60 million. I don't know if he's quite got to that level yet, but he's definitely closed the gap. Madueke can be a little bit wasteful sometimes, just sometimes I think he's a little bit wasteful. And I think he sometimes is just a hindrance to himself. Sometimes Madueke is a hindrance to himself. Yeah. Do you know what? This is true. I think there has been a time, especially this time last year, when Pedro Neto was unreal and then he got injured. Madueke's had a lot of injuries in his career. By the way, I haven't heard anything on this, but Madueke could, when all that brawl happened against Forest, Madueke couldn't get up and he had to get helped off the pitch and go down the tunnel. He could barely walk. I don't know if he's just exhausted or it's cramp, but he's had injuries in the past, Madueke, and I'm praying it's not another injury. Noni does, he overthinks, sometimes a bit greedy, but there's serious talent. I've always said this. There's a really high ceiling with Madueke. Madueke could be unbelievable. He could be so good. But he's another one that, like Mudryk, they have to improve their decision-making sometimes. But like Noni against Forest had a good game. You know, in the first half, I thought, was it first half? When did he? No, no. Second, no. First half, I think until he scored, I was thinking he was doing okay, but then I just felt like he needed to score. Otherwise, it was a very similar game to what we've seen him have in other weeks. And then out of nowhere, bang, unbelievable finish. Wow. Ayo, appreciate that. Thank you. That is honestly one of the first super chats we've had. So I appreciate that. You are going to be held on a history-making level on this channel forever. Madueke is better than Saka. Mark my words. I agree to an extent that there's potential in Madueke to go above and beyond what Saka is. Whether or not he's got that right now, I'm not sure, because I get way more frustrated watching Madueke than I do with Saka. But at the same time, genuinely, I think there's potential in Madueke to like go to the very top. Like, you know, when Madueke's on it, yeah, and he looks unbelievable, he's flying. Like, he's flying. He passes players with ease. It doesn't even seem difficult to take a man on. And now he's added finishing. And you know what it is with Madueke? Not saying Saka doesn't, by the way, because this isn't true. But there's a hunger with Madueke because he's non-stop work rate, improving when he's not playing football. If he's not called up for England, he's work rate. So, no, I don't agree. I don't think Madueke is lacking technically. I don't think he is. I don't think Madueke lacks technically. I think he's blessed technically. And I don't think Saka's that bad, by the way. I don't think Saka excels technically, but some things are fine, like very good. Saka's ball retention is incredibly good under pressure. But look, Ayo, I do really appreciate the super chat, man. Really, really do. And I have to say that one day, if this statement was true, I wouldn't be shocked. I'd probably sit there and say, yeah, do you know what? That doesn't surprise me, because that's a guy with a serious work rate and some serious ability. And I genuinely think Madueke could definitely find himself at the top of European football. Hopefully at Chelsea, by the way. That's why when you guys said that you think Noni will go, I was shocked, because I think Maresca really likes Noni. And if Maresca's our manager, I think that would be a player that he would be sad to see go. By the way, I'll say this on this point as well. Noni Madueke might have already scored more goals than Pedro Neto in like his whole career. I saw a thing when we were signing Netto that he has only got like 11 goals ever or something like that. He's not in 100 odd games. He's only got like 11 goals. So I think Madueke must be close to that. Can't be far off. Saka is an explosive winger that plays 90 minutes every game. Yeah, do you know what? Now that's very true. Saka ultimately is a player that I think will feel the years of the Premier League on him and on his legs in a few years' time, because it's been non-stop for him. It's been constant like tackles and rough going, and he's been able to play through it. But yeah, look, I think he could honestly really, really start to feel that. I said this in the summer that Arsenal, even if he's not that good, they need to get him a replacement just so they can rest him. You know, like we've done with Cole Palmer. And we can rest Cole Palmer now in them Conference League games or the Cup games. We need someone on that level. What worries me, though, is you see with England, like they just play Saka, Rice. They just run him into the ground, mate. Like they go and play 180 minutes for England pretty much. And I just hope Cole Palmer doesn't become that, because it's not ideal. I don't want any of our players being abused by England like that, because they shouldn't be playing 180 minutes. So, genuinely, by the way, if players go on strike, do not be surprised. Like Laporte came out of a statement and just said, like, it's too much. It's just too much. If you go and if you go and play the amount of games that these footballers do at the pace that they do, there's what Laporte was saying. There's an issue, and the only option is to strike. And I actually agree with them. I know they get paid a lot of money, but genuinely, I think it's getting to the stage where it's too much now. Like the England stuff, like we could have, you know what? If they turn around and said we're going to give the players a 2-week break in October, but there's not going to be any international fixtures, they're just going to have a break because they've got a Club World Cup at the end of the year, and it's going to be a disaster in terms of player fixtures and managing pre-season and the squad and travel and everything. And a month out in America, I think some of us would have probably turned around and been like, yeah, all right. Like Nations League, honestly, who cares? If England won the Nations League, I might be happy about it for a weekend. Honestly, you know when people tell me that Ronaldo won the Nations League, what? Does he? I don't think he even. Ronaldo probably would care, but if I don't think I would care. If England had won the Nations League, I would have still wanted Southgate out. Like, it just doesn't bother me. It's just actually it was another failure in his case. So, yeah, look, honestly, the Nations League is a waste of time for me. I think the international breaks are boring. I think they're an issue for players and their welfare. I understand playing internationals is prideful and it means a lot, but we never used to have this many. So, yeah, it is what it is. But look, guys, I'm going to shoot. It's been an absolute pleasure. An hour and a half of chatting and taking our minds away from boring international football. It's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate everyone that's tuned in, everyone that's dropped a like. If you haven't already, smash a like on the video. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers. So if you're new, make sure to subscribe because we want to try and do that before Christmas. It's been an absolute pleasure. Appreciate all you guys for chatting and sticking with me. I saw Chelsea Blue say about mods. I don't know how to do that, so I'll have a look into it and work it out because some of you are here every single time. And I will catch you all in a bit, but an absolute pleasure. And once again, AO, thank you for the super chat, my man. I will see you all in a bit. Have a good one.